There you are.
God.
Techie,
What the hell
techie,
happened?
techie. Tech stuff, tech stuff, tech stuff.
High tech, LOL. It is fucking high tech. You don't know what I paid for this shit. Just because it doesn't work this time.
Exactly. All right, it's working now, so let's roll.
Well, go see the damn movie. That's all I'm saying.
All right, there we go. Go see it. Now you're all shook up.
No, I'm not. I'm not sure. I don't like. I mean, it was seeing levels. Everything seemed like it was working fine. And I had this problem with like Triv back in the day. I'd say,
Right.
look, everything is fine. Everything looks like it's fine. Everything seems like it's fine. Well, you can't just restart the show on the radio.
Right,
But luckily,
exactly.
I can hit reboot on this, but it's just stupid.
Yeah, oh well, whatever.
Have you seen the Godfather series yet? No, I have not. I still got to get over to your house and get the movies.
They're sitting in my car waiting for you.
Well, now they're melted because it's 90 degrees outside.
Nice.
And I did cry at the end of that stupid movie today, and I felt weird seeing it with my sister-in-law, though. Is that weird?
Why?
I don't know. It's my wife's sister. I feel like I was on a movie date.
You weren't finger banging her or nothing, were you? I mean,
Oh,
what's the
Jesus,
problem?
dude? Come on. No.
Well, then what's the problem?
There was no problem. Just, like I said, 2 years ago, right at the fourth maintenance guy complaining new roof leaks, told him to look for bullet holes. Sure enough, don't shoot your guns in the air.
Yeah, I've heard that.
All right, Jim Isabella is on the line here. Wanted to check in. Thanks to Charlie's Auto Repair Hotline. Charlie's Auto Repair in Lakewood. Really appreciate Charlie for doing that. And welcome, Jim. Jim Isabella, how are you, my friend?
All right. What movie did you see today?
The new Indiana Jones movie.
So you did see it.
Yes,
You did not give a review, I hope.
I did give a review.
You didn't tell anybody details, did you?
Well, no, because I mean, a lot
Good.
of people want to see the movie, but everybody was saying it's a woke movie, and I don't think so. No, I don't think it's a woke thing at all.
People can't define their own names, let alone that. By the way, do you remember when MGI used to do with Lanigan and Malone, Knuckleheads in the News?
Yes.
I got one for you.
All right.
All right? You may have seen this, you may not have. Again, proving that there are more of them than there are of us, meaning morons. I saw this, and I really couldn't believe it. A woman, we're not talking a young child, we're not talking about that, went to, our good old, what's the geyser place?
Yellowstone.
Yellowstone, right. Okay. So despite the signs, despite all of that, she put her hand in the pool. The pool of the steaming hot, God knows how hot water there is. I'm going to tell you, since I have left radio, what scares me and wants me to go back to radio is to hide from all the morons. I mean, you can't hide from them now. People don't use their turn signals. And then my favorite is, you ever see when cars are, they're in opposite lanes and there's just a little bit of space there. Well, sure enough, somebody wants to get ahead so bad they'll do that. I had a guy flip me off. We got no flip-off war. I'm going 80. I should have been going 80 on Route 8. And he's behind me. And he's on my tail. Like, what the heck? Of course, he had the advantage because he had his roof open, so he could flip me off that way. But once he got ahead, I started pulling toward him. Boy, did he take off like a rocket ship. It's like, what is so important about this that you have to do this? I mean, I don't know. This the stuff I see is so stupid today. I just can't get over it. So,
Jim Isabella joins us, formerly from WNIR. And what are you up to now, Jim? Everybody wants to know what's going on with you.
Well, right now I'm taking some side jobs. I'm looking at job applications. It's really crazy. Trying to find some stuff. You do find there's a lot of age discrimination out there, by the way. And just trying to figure what's the next step. Got a lot of personal stuff I'm working on, and ever since I had that car crash in February, the back is getting better, but now I have a nerve thing back in here that's making my right arm feel weak. And as you've been through a lot worse than I have, Seth, it's been that. And I even did a eulogy recently for a friend who passed.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, the weird thing was people were raving about a eulogy. Now, I must have done it well because people were even getting emotional about it, you know. But
Yeah.
that's that's coming from the creative mind of Jim Isabella, not trying to sound like every other eulogy and actually keeping people engaged in it. Um, the worst eulogies in the world, by the way, are the ones you hear from the priest. Sometimes it doesn't know him. Now, this priest was good. He said, I didn't know him, but I heard this, and went, and all that. But sometimes they'll make it sound like they knew the guy. They know nothing about him or her. So,
Yeah,
but it's,
when my
good.
mom passed way
Mm-hmm.
back when, I mean, it's been 20 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously we had like a ceremony thing, and it was at a funeral home. She was cremated, whatever, and so they just
Yeah.
had this guy that was part of the funeral home that was going to say something about my mom, and he got up there and started saying stuff, and I took offense. I was that guy at like a funeral that caused a scene. I got up and said, "Who the fuck are you? You don't know my mom even a little bit."
Right.
I mean, don't talk about my mom like you knew her. My mom was like my best friend in the world. I knew my mom.
Yeah.
And how dare you sit up there and say all these things? You have no idea what kind of woman she was. So I was that guy.
Well, the priest usually what a good priest does is he keeps it short and he doesn't try to go too much in the eulogy part because that's somebody else's job. But he'll talk about dealing with the death and all that. Hope and you always and the same thing, hoping this person's in a better place. My friend had stage 4 cancer, and it was like, oh God, And the one thing I will say that I came out of this about that experience with was I don't know. I think I told you, Seth. I wrote a letter, I call it a love letter. It sounds kind of corny, but I took time, wrote a 3-page letter to all my friends and family, and sent it to them last year because of when something like this happens, you at least have said I love you to this person. At least went on the record as saying that, so there's no regrets as much as you have no regrets. So I think that there's positives to things if you take initial steps, and it's easier for you to deal with them. It's not like things weren't said. You know what I'm saying? And that's one thing I have definitely learned as I've gotten older. Of course, if I get like Joe Biden, I want you to make me a promise, Seth. Will you please?
Yeah, please.
If I get like him, shoot me.
I will do the eulogy at your funeral if that happens. Yes.
Well, yeah, we'll give you a dispensation from the Pope or something.
So how long were you in radio?
Wow, that's a hard question to answer because I started out and then did not. Well, let me go through my resume real quick. So see, Ashland, Worcester, Canton. Did some on and off for 3WE over a couple of years, but that wasn't full time. Full time was NIR. So probably I started in 1979 or 80. So I've been on and off radio all that time and did newspapers for 30 plus years. So a mixture of everything.
One thing I've noticed after it's been about getting close to a year and a half since I've been out of that radio station.
Same
and one
here.
thing I have to say is that I still miss it. Like, it gets in your blood. Now, I love doing this, and this is actually a lot more freeing than the radio gig. But it gets in your blood, and it's a part of who you are when you've done it for as long as I did it, and definitely as long as you've done it.
Yeah, one of the things is to just give folks an idea. I used to do play-by-play on radio and TV at different times in my career, even some studio work. And there's one plague that you have once you've done it or you've done radio. You never look at things the same way because you have too much inside knowledge. Like when I watch a football game, I'm thinking of the play-by-play sometimes. What would I say? How would I analyze a game?
Mm-hmm.
And I also look at the strategies stronger than fans. Fans just go, "Oh, that play sucked." Well, why did it suck? I want to know why. And the same with radio. I got to tell you, Seth, the thing that upsets me about radio is that if the great analytic people out there, the geniuses that run corporations would actually sit down and do something simple and look at what radio stations do well versus what don't do well, they would find, shock here, live radio, live disc jockeys, live talk show guys does a lot better than voiceover stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's where they miss it. The thing that made radio great, and why it's still here even, is because of the interplay between the host or hosts and the audience.
Yeah.
The audience is so important. They don't do things like Lanigan and those guys would do that bit where they would give, I forget what they called the term, and it was really meaning like have sex later or something like that. There's nothing intriguing about radio. It's Joe Biden, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and constitutional amendments. That's it. That is it. And even the people doing it are dumbbells. Okay? Let me explain. So I'll do this in bullet points so we don't get boring. Supreme Court comes out with the whole thing about race can no longer be a consideration, and everybody's going, oh, this is terrible, when in the admissions policy. Well, there's only a few colleges, about 100 that did it. And the other thing is the escape in that, if you read the thing at all, was they can put their life experiences in there in an essay. That's how they could circumvent the rule of law.
I hate to tell people too that
you gotta pay attention to these things, But people don't pay attention to the details.
No, this whole lawsuit with that whole thing was brought up by, I hate to tell people, Asian people. There is a group of minorities that put that lawsuit into effect to begin with, and so it was minority versus minority here. It wasn't white people trying to keep people down.
Oh, absolutely not.
It gets frustrating because they don't even report the facts anymore. Watching CNN, you would think that white people were trying to oppress every group known to man. No, that's not the case. And it's disgusting.
Well, people are too lazy to dig, and the media is the laziest in the history of this country. And I've said this repeatedly. One of the things is, for example, I've talked to Akron cops. We had the whole Jalen Walker thing down here, justice for Jalen. Well, first of all, if a grand jury doesn't indict cops, and a grand jury could indict because the standard is much lower than it is in a jury trial or any such thing. If they didn't indict the cops for that, that meant there was no compelling evidence other than the facts. And now they want to walk to Washington, waste our time, complain, whine. Most black people in the city of Akron, and probably Cleveland the same, East Cleveland, I'll bet the same thing, want cops. They want more cops because they're afraid of getting shot. Instead of these loudmouth schnooks who are sitting there all because of one guy, George Floyd, and a dumb threesome of cops screwed it for the entire nation. And oh, by the way, I now see we're doing the legacy of George Floyd. Here's his legacy. He was a criminal, and he died a terrible death. That's his legacy. End of story. He didn't do anything. He wasn't a great human being. Walking. He had a criminal record longer than my nose. Mine isn't that big. But anyway, you get the hint. We're a stupid. I go back. We're a stupid society. It's like, go fix the potholes. When I was running for mayor of Akron, the whole thing was roads and police. Nothing else matters. Because if you can drive on the roads and not have your teeth come out, or if you have cops in the neighborhood that are discouraging all the gangs out there, hello, then there's only one thing left to do: education. That's a whole other story. Anyway.
Yeah, it's frustrating. It really is. So what are you? Do you want to get back into the business, or what are you trying to do? Do you want to?
Right opportunity, yes. Yeah, I would mind, because me, I could do sports, I could do news, I could do any of that stuff. It's not really hard to do. I could do news talk. By the way, I would take on the successor to Mike Trevisano any day of the week and kick his butt, because there's something called cardinal knowledge, things that things that that other people don't know. And the fact I pay attention to details. Everyone wants to talk about the headline and not the details. The details are more important than the headline. That's why Howie Chiswick was a great talk show host, and probably the best I ever heard, was because he came up with great angles, which very few people do. And the other thing that Howie did was he paid attention to detail. I mean, all these news anchors, it's funny because Fox will do this every so often. They'll play a collage of all the news people, same terms, every one of them. It's like, do you people not have an original thought? I mean, seriously, there's a thing. Try this. It's called a thesaurus. And you can use different terms for the same thing. It's a lovely thought. But then again, I realized that my last previous job before I'm doing some, as you know, some other work, which we won't get into, I started to realize we have adults now, we have generations that can't read and write.
Oh, yeah.
Or barely so. Let me put it to you that way. They don't even know the meanings of some of the words. They don't know what a sentence is. They don't know how to do much of anything. And it's scary. I'm not condemning them. It's the system that keeps passing them through. Now we've got some, I'll just say it nicely, not so smart people.
Yeah,
Idiots?
Yeah.
Well, idiots are different than not smart people in the sense that some people think they're invincible. Like that woman, she puts her hand, despite a sign sitting there, puts her in at Yellowstone, put your hand in the pond. That's just genius. There are some people who have not had education, and some of that, and I was thinking about this the other day. Okay, so let me ask you guys an objective question. Okay. So statistically, without question, every time you look at inner cities, right, the grade point averages suck, right?
Right.
Are you telling me, I want you to think before you answer, are you telling me all those teachers are bad?
Oh, no, definitely not.
Okay. So why is it bad? Because there's no parental support. And we had that damn No Child Left Behind that Bush and Kennedy pushed. And it should have been called Every Child Left Behind. Because one of the clauses was that they had this thing where if you don't do well and you don't give the kick, move the kid to the next grade, your school gets punished. So guess what? Fudging of numbers.
Yeah.
Remember that happened in Atlanta. They got caught. Oh, I'm sure it's in this area. I would bet my house on it. Oh, I don't have a house. But anyway, I would have.
See, the problem that I have, though, is that, I had good parents who, were around. I had really good teachers at St. Ignatius High School. So they were, top of the line teachers. I was just an asshole. I just didn't do the work that I was supposed to do. And, sometimes it doesn't come down to the parents. Sometimes it comes down to kids are just stupid and would rather be going out and doing other things. And so I guess it does come down to, somebody needs to keep them in line. But sometimes kids are just bad.
Oh, yeah. That's been true everywhere. When I went to Shell, we had bad kids. You always have. There's always a group of, I'd say 5%, maybe 10, depending where you are. But other kids, if they get into the right thing, like, for example, the motivation for me is still, I tell the kids, hey, screw what your parents are saying, everybody else is saying to you. This is for you. This is how you can control your life. That's what education is. Pay no other attention to the rest of that motivational nonsense. It's about you having the opportunity with your grades to go where you want, get the degree you want. And even if you don't go beyond high school, you're smart enough to carry on to a trade school or something. You're ready. Because you use things you never thought you'd use in school. I never thought I'd make as many historical references as I've done over the course of my talk show years, and even in writing. I mean, but you got to talk to kids to be real, okay? And they know when you're bullcrapping them or not. They know. I mean, come on. But you're right. That's a problem. But I still think the majority of the problem is the lack of support, and then you have the administrator coming down on these guys. Well, what are you going to do if a kid says "F you" and you're not throwing a kid out? What do you want the teacher to do? Unless you want the teachers to go shoot them. I mean, we could make that legal. Of course, for the dumb people out there, it's a sarcastic remark. Look it up in the dictionary. Sarcastic.
But it's true. You got to start disciplining these kids, and I'm saying shooting is definitely over the line a little bit, but but there needs to be some sort of consequences inside the classroom. But now the teachers are afraid to do anything because they're getting their asses kicked.
No, they're also afraid of liability from the administrators. I told you a long time ago, Seth, all I got to do is you can legally do this. You can force all the parents, guardians, whoever is the contact, to sign an agreement that if this kid does not meet certain parameters in terms of both behavior and grades, they're out. They're out. Especially once they're 16, throw them back out on the streets. They're going to be gang members anyway. If they don't care now, they're never going to care, unless somebody mentors them. There's a lot of mentoring programs out there, but, frankly, because of the whiners and the complainers and the minority groups in this country, they're not dealing with the reality that they're not going into the inner city doing anything. If you remember, Black Lives Matter was going to fix all that, right? And look what happened. The people on the top of the food chain there bought houses, gave their relatives jobs. Oh, you mean minorities are just like white people and cheat, lie, and steal? Of course they do. They're just people. That's why I always laugh at all the racial stuff. It cracks me up because people are people. What was it? Mike Trevisani used to say, Americans are the greatest scammers of all time. And he's right.
Yes. Yeah.
It's incredible what you see.
No doubt there.
But, so what happy thing would you like me to talk about and make you feel good?
Where can people find you? You've been doing a lot of Facebook Live stuff, so people can find you on Facebook still?
Yeah, I'm going to try to do them weekly now. I've been kind of slacking off because, not slacking off. I'm tired because get up in the morning, I watch a little TV, grab something to eat, and then I'm out doing freelance stuff. And Seth knows what it is. I don't want to go public with it because someone may not like me. Okay.
There's nothing to be upset about when it comes to doing that, believe me. But I understand. I get it.
Well, the thing that's interesting, by the way, I just found out about another profession that you and I are acquainted with. Do you know there was someone who tried to get into door dashing, and they said we have as many as we can take right now?
Really?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's because income, if you look at corporate America, who still isn't too bright, they are not understanding that people need some security. Car payments are in the 300s now. There's almost no way you won't end up paying $300 for a used car. Right. I got a used car after my car crash, $309 a month. And what are you going to do? It's not like I'm not made of millions. I wish I was. But people are struggling still. And when this president came up, instead of letting the economy it was kind of taking care of itself, kind of repairing itself, he cut your energy prices and the oil speculation went up and all that. And that's the sad thing for me is that I never thought I'd see a moron as president. I thought I'd see, I never did. Not to this extent. I mean, everything he's done turns to crap, everything. And it's like, you can't write this stuff off.
No.
All the polls say that the liberals don't even like the guy. So I think that what we're all fighting is the same thing. We're trying for just security, pay the bills, And I think the society, I'll tell you a little secret. One day I went with somebody to Doordash. Here's the thing. I helped out a couple occasions, and here's what shocked me. And Seth, I know you know since you were doing this too. Over 90% of the orders they get say no contact. In other words, instead of handing them the order, they want you to leave it on the porch. And I watch these people. You have to take a photo and send that into the corporate people because, after all, you're not trustworthy. Like they aren't going to find out. As you pull away in the car, when they see you leaving, they go get the food.
Right away.
That tells you how paranoid people become, number one. And number two is they're so afraid of the crime out there now. People, and legitimately so, I don't blame them. I would probably do the same thing. Except, boy, when they get hungry, they come to the door.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to say this about DoorDash, because my wife and I do it as a side hustle because, you can make pretty decent money doing it. So we do it as a side hustle for us. And you see all walks of life. Because at first I was like, oh, man, I'm kind of embarrassed to be doing this. Went to radio, did all this stuff for years. And then, but the more that I have been doing with her, you see all walks of life. You see kids that are just out of college, which, oh, by the way, go back to school so I can get my orders back. And two, you see guys that are wearing suits and ties that are driving Lexuses. and they are making extra money because either the inflation is too high and their
Right.
bills are out of control.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing it because they need to do it. They're not doing it for fun. But you see guys that are doing it out of necessity, and it's all walks of life. You see soccer moms, you see
Mhm.
everybody doing it, and there's a lot of people out there doing it. A ton of people out there doing it.
Well, if the two surprises you and I have just talked about, the variety of people doing it, the kind of paranoia out there's a third element that really has shocked me. I don't know I can't believe how many people who are in poor neighborhoods receive DoorDash.
Oh,
That's the shocker of shockers.
because DoorDash is not cheap, man. If you're when you order, you're paying a pretty penny to do it. And
Right, even for the sandwich, right?
And some of the orders are in the poorest of neighborhoods. And I'm sitting there going, wait a second. I don't want to spend what little money I have on DoorDash because it costs too much to do. And these orders are going into the hood like you can't believe. We went to one the other day, and I swear I had 911 ready to go on my phone because my wife was walking the order up to the door, had bars on the windows, bars on the door, and I'm sitting there going, man, something bad's going to happen here. I told her finally, just leave it on the damn porch and let's get the hell out because we're going to get shot here. But they have money to order the food, but not money to fix the broken damn window to their living room.
Well,
that bothers me.
Well, let me ask you a question. Okay, now, everybody knows, if you don't, being a former talk show host, I talked about this a lot. People are shocked I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs, okay? I'm not patting myself in the back, but here's my question. How come all these poor people do that shit? Pardon my friend.
No, you're right.
Well, how do you afford it? Smoking itself is incredibly cost prohibitive. What is it, 60 bucks a carton or 70 or something?
It's literally like $10 or more a pack now.
And there's a lot of people who just get the pack instead of getting the cartons where they'd save money.
Right.
Believe me, it's an education to see what people value. There's some people who don't value their property, but value their cars more. I had a friend of mine who was a minority, told me that back in high school. I said, really? He said, yeah. And we were good friends. We could talk about that stuff because we had the kind of relationship. But, society perplexes me. And I finally figured out what it is that perplexes me. And it seems like, to me, if I'm going to stereotype, by the way, Asians being discriminated against to get scholarships. Are you freaking kidding me? There's a stereotype. They're a lot smarter than Americans, period. Whether they grew up or not. If you're from an Asian community, chances are you got a pretty damn good IQ, and you don't just pass tests, you get it. And you work hard. You ever go to a Mexican restaurant? You ever see those guys slacking around? Nope. And when you have real Mexicans, let's be honest about it, they're not slacking off. They're working their butts off. America needs to grow the hell up and get some work ethic back. That's another problem I see. Oh, and one other thing I wanted to point out. I was thinking about this the other day, how the utopian people, call them liberals or whatever, are never happy about anything. It's like, if you win a Supreme Court case, you're thrilled, right? But that's never good enough. We need more, we need more, we need more. It's like, hold on. Can you find happiness within yourself? I mean, I'm being very philosophical here. But that's one thing I noticed between conservatives and liberals, super liberals, I should say, because there's a lot of liberals that are just, normal people, whatever. And it's like, can't you be happy? Do you know who seems to be the most bitter, unhappy person on earth? Because I see it on Twitter when I go on. I don't go on very often. Rob Reiner. Every freaking day.
Oh, yeah.
Donald Trump. Save America's democracy. Save it from what?
I mean, I tweeted back at him a couple of times, and of course he doesn't respond to people actually tweeting back at him. He's just a miserable bastard sitting there on his phone.
Rosie O'Donnell's another one.
Yeah.
Is she even alive?
Yeah, she's She's alive enough to tweet about how bad anything Republican is. She definitely puts that on her Twitter every day.
Oh, another white person stereotyping other white people.
Another rich white person.
And if I hear Whoopi Goldberg talk about how damn oppressed she is, I'm going to kick somebody's ass because she's got more money than God, and she's going to sit there and say, "But if you're black, you can't just pick yourself up by your bootstraps." No, you can. If you're whoever you are, you can do it. And yet, all she does is bitch.
Well, one of the things that she's going to hell for eventually is she took Barbara Walters' idea of The View, was a bunch of women getting together from different things of life and talking about issues, both sides. And that got long forgotten when Rosie and Whoopi took over because Meredith Vieira was too classy to act like a jackass.
Right.
And that's what's really hard is like, to me, I'll tell you what, you give me CNN, I'll turn it around in 2 years. You know why? Because I get rid of all the goofy hosts they have. And though Jeff Zucker, who screwed it up, wants to buy it, if you invest in that, why don't you just go take a submarine ride, okay? With that other jackass that goes down. It's not even certified. What an idiot. But anyway, no, seriously, you got to look at things. I would put in objective journalists and say, what is this? And not have a discussion with 3 people on the air. I would sit down and I'd make people do long form interviews. So you hear what the total story is. And that's not happening anymore. Cable has lost its way. When cable first started, because I was working for Viacom, doing sports at the time. You know what they called cable channels? Narrowcasting. The idea was to find that the fringe audience and that they like for example, Arnold Palmer was smart enough to put together the Golf Channel. Brilliant idea. I didn't think it was going to work, but it was brilliant. CNN, Ted Turner was ahead of everybody with, Cable News Network, and it was a wonderful network. Bernard Shaw was a great host. They got Daniel Short from CBS. They had really top drawer people. But now all the cable channels are trying to overcome the networks in terms of ratings. Well, my answer to that is, and I forget it was Mark Twain or it was some famous person, philosopher said, to have friends, you have to be a friend. Well, you're not befriending a bunch of people. You are trying to go one way or the other. Liberal news networks have terrible ratings. Terrible ratings. Because the liberals who represent the liberals are not representing most liberals. Most liberals are sane, intelligent people. They may have a different philosophy, but they at least think it through. The screamers that they keep putting on television are not real liberals. They're goofs. Yeah. They're just goofs. They're not representing all of America. How many times is Bill Maher, I don't know if you get to see him at all, but if you watch his highlights, he keeps ripping them. He says, I'm a liberal or a libertarian. This woke stuff is ridiculous.
Yeah,
he says they all look like idiots.
Yep.
But see, there are sane people. Yeah. There's sane people like, Seth, you're sane, I think. By the way, I saw a picture you posted. Was it today of going to the movie?
Yeah.
That wasn't your wife?
No, that was her twin sister.
She has a twin sister?
Yes.
Really? Is she married?
Yes. No, she is not.
She is not?
She is not, no.
Hey, I'm almost ready to go back on the dating circuit, dude.
Yeah,
she can have me.
She is a very lovely woman. She is. She's a very nice.
You
I was lucky to be in that family, so I'm very happy.
Talk to your wife for me. Put a pitch in.
I'll put a good word in.
Yeah, because I'm not going to dazzle her with brilliance, but I'm fun to be around at least.
All right. Well, on that note, Jim, I appreciate you coming on tonight. Do appreciate you coming on. And again, people can watch you on Facebook Live and check you out. I'm wishing you all the best in finding whatever it is you want to do. I know what it's like. I continue to search myself for, the next big thing, and I think that I found it here doing this with Chris. I think it's going to be good. And so,
I leave you with, if I can, I'll leave you with something used in the eulogy. Right. That is quite an amazing story. Jimmy Valvano, you may remember the coach who died in '93. Took North Carolina State to the NCAA championship in '83. Amazing story, amazing guy. He was quoting the Reverend Bob Richards, who was a decathlete. In other words, the 10 sports you get points in the Olympics to win, which is amazing. And he was at a summer camp. He's a teen, and he said it changed his life. There were two sentences. The first, he wasn't engaged with too much when he said, God must have loved ordinary people because he made a lot out of them. A lot of them. Second sentence, the one that changed his life, and I leave you with this one. Ordinary people do extraordinary things.
Amen to that.
That's a positive. Take that to the bank.
Amen. Well, thanks, Jim.
Thank you, gentlemen.
We'll talk to you soon. I appreciate you coming on.
Oh, no problem. Thanks.
Take care, man.
Jim Isabella, WNIR, good dude.
There he is.
He's a good guy, man. I wish him the best. Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy doing what you love for 20, 30 years and then, not having it and having that outlet. And I'm lucky that I have this.
So you're going to try and hook him up?
Huh?
You going to try and hook him up?
Look, man, I'll make a call during the break. That's all I can do. She's a very good-looking woman, and she has a lot of suitors, I would imagine.
So, but you'll put Jim in line at least,
I will
right?
put Jim in line. No
there
doubt.
You go. Perfect.
So, Jim, you are good to go. You are definitely in line.
There you go. Nice.
All right, let's take a quick break, and then we'll talk some stuff that's going on.
All right, cool.
Hang on.
All right.